Take it away, Jeff.
Good afternoon. This is Jeff Weinberg with Caregiver Champion, and we have today a very special person who I've had the honor and privilege to know. Her name is Stefanie Small, and being that this is the week of Thanksgiving, I am extremely thankful to be able to know Stefanie. And I feel like she's in our series of identifying key people in the community and throughout the country. She's definitely someone that everybody needs to know. And if you've noticed, I'm wearing a Steeler jersey. And if you aren't from Pittsburgh, we're 10-0. And Thanksgiving is coming up this Thursday, and we're playing the dreaded Ravens. But anyhow, I usually, for the first time, every time we do one of these, I at least have a dress shirt on and sometimes a sport coat. So I won't say what else I'm wearing, but but anyhow, getting back to Stefanie, she is involved in the community. She does a tremendous amount of work for caregivers, and we picked her to talk about what she's doing because I think everybody really, and especially in the Pittsburgh community, needs to know and hear about how she could possibly be a help to you. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Rachel, and we'll go from there.
Great. Well, welcome, Stefanie. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'd love
Glad to be here.
To start out asking you to tell the people a little bit more about your background.
Sure. So I was born and raised in New York and came here. I'm an immigrant to Pittsburgh, and although my children have all been born here, I will never officially be a Pittsburgh native. But I got my social work degree, my master's of social work at the University of Pittsburgh, and did my second internship year at Jewish Family and Community Services, and I stayed there. I was very lucky to get a job opening as I was graduating, and I've been there since 2001. I was a geriatric care coordinator and psychotherapist to start, and I still do some of that, but I am now the clinical director, which means I oversee all senior services and all counseling services.
Amazing. So what is the mission of Jewish Family Services?
So the mission at JFCS is to support people through life's changes and challenges. And JFCS is a pretty wide-ranging social service agency. We have everything from career development to refugee services to legal immigration services and a whole bunch of other stuff in between. So we really try to service as many people in the community who need help as we can. And in the seniors and counseling department specifically, we work to try to keep people independent in the community with as many tools as we can give them to maintain that success.
That's beautiful and so important, especially right now more than ever.
Indeed.
So what specialized services are you offering for caregivers?
So our caregivers have always been a part of our major mission. When COVID started, we realized that our core community of people who, not just who were already receiving services, but in the East End, Squirrel Hill, and further out, people really needed extra support. So when the lockdown started, we started offering support groups in ways we hadn't before. So, and I will get back to your original question, I promise. But when we started offering different support groups for different ages and different experiences, and some were attended and some were not. We tried all different kinds of modalities. And the ones that kind of stayed were we have art therapy and meditation and mindfulness. But we realized that the group that needed the most support was our caregivers. And we had always had a caregiver support group. When I came on 19 years ago, I took over the group that had already been in existence from my predecessor. So we have a caregiver support group at JFCS that's going on easily 25 years. And obviously not all the same people, but we have met monthly every month for easily 25 years. But when COVID started and we realized that caregivers were going to be so much more isolated in ways they had never been before, we started offering it twice a month, all virtual. And while some weeks we get 10 or 12 people, some weeks we get 3, but every time I think, well, maybe it's time to go back to once a month, on what I call the bonus rounds week, they're like, oh, I'm so glad you had it this week. Oh, if I had to wait a month, I never could have made it. And we realized we were doing the right thing.
And that's so important.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, Stephanie, or not, but we also, when COVID started, we have Caregiver Champion Facebook, but we started an offshoot called Working Caregivers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a support system for people who just needed to talk about things. And there's professionals in there as well as caregivers. And once we're done with this interview, we'll post that on both Caregiver Champion as well as Working Caregivers. So you may get more calls, which
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, good.
One of the things we've noticed specifically are adult child caregivers and spousal caregivers have different issues.
Right.
And they didn't have people who, many of them came on, and they realized they didn't have people who would understand where they're coming from, right? So you have the spousal caregivers who may have had their children involved or may have had caregivers involved, paid caregivers. And then suddenly COVID comes on and they're like, oh, I can't let anyone in my house. And suddenly they're doing a 24-hour job. But they still have the adult children who might be involved caring, right? It all comes from a caring place, but a lot of them are bossing their parents around or telling them that some are saying you're doing too much and some are saying, well, you're not being careful enough. And so they're being torn in different directions. Whereas caregiver situations where there's no spouse and it's an adult child taking place, right? They also get very bossy, but they don't have somewhere to turn. Who do I go to for this? And should I move in with my parent? Should my parent move in with us? And just the maelstrom of emotion around choice for caregivers, which always exists, right? There's always that stress around it, just ratcheted up exponentially. And for people who are working from home, right? We heard about it all through COVID and all through even today, right? Kids are home and working parents, and they can't do Zoom school and Zoom work and everything else, and something's got to give. But you didn't hear about the people who are working caregivers for their older adults, right? That sandwich generation is always a lousy place to be. So you got the Zoom school kid and the Zoom school work, and then you also have the parents, and now what? And so the decisions that had to be made have never had to been made before. It's a totally new territory for everyone.
Absolutely. What other services does JFCS offer, and how can someone access them?
So as I mentioned, JFCS has a lot of different services, and everything we offer can be accessed through our main number, 412-422-7200. You can also check out our website, www.jfcspgh.org. Specifically for seniors, we have some that we do have. We do have a small care management program, which is nothing like Jeff's, truth be told, because Jeff is our robust referral, as we like to call him. We have counseling.
Thank you.
You betcha. We're grateful for you, honey. But we do have therapists who are available, who are licensed clinical social workers, who are geriatric based. They have specialties in dealing with older adult issues. So whether it's mood disorders or caregiving or dealing with pain in the tuchus, young children, anything they might deal with as an older adult, we have people who can specialize in therapy for them. We also have a psychiatrist who comes and works with us once a week. In order to access the psychiatrist, you do have to have somebody who's providing therapy to you on staff as well, but it is kind of an additional benefit to those who we serve. We do have a private duty caregiver registry called the Caregiver Connection. So the registry is different than an agency. Where in an agency, the agency employs the paid caregivers who go into the homes, and the clients pay the agency. In a registry, all of the caregivers are independent contractors, and we serve more of as a matchmaker. So anyone who applies to be a caregiver through Caregiver Connection, they go through an interview process, background checks, reference checks, application process. We make you take a test. Like, we take this very seriously. And then clients who need caregivers, we match them up. And then we do have a small administrative fee that we charge per hour, but the majority of what is paid is directly from client to caregiver. And so the caregiver takes home more pay and the client has a more direct route to that caregiver. It's a model we've had in place for, again, almost 25 years, I would say. You know, some of the financial pieces have changed, but that same matchmaker type model. We are a licensed registry through Pennsylvania, and we can take long-term care insurance, we can take private pay, anything of the sort. And we do try to work with the community. Currently, we're actually a preferred provider at the Jewish Association on Aging, along with Home Instead. And right now, in accordance with their COVID laws, we're currently keeping all caregivers who are in the community separate from any caregivers at the JAA, because we're trying to help prevent any spread within facilities. Another program that we have is our Age Well Pittsburgh Information and Referral Program, which is part of the Age Well Pittsburgh collaboration, which is about 18 years old now, between JFCS, the JCC, and the JAA. And so we all work very closely together to offer a more of an umbrella of services. And under that, we do have an information and referral line, as well as some volunteer programs, which currently are slightly pivoted and on hold. We have a friendly visitor and a friendly driver program, Age Well Visits and Age Well Rides. But right now, we're sticking with just virtual Age Well televisits. So, because it is safer that way. But we do hope to re-expand that in safer months, hopefully in 2021.
Okay. Stephanie, can you give Rachel afterwards the phone numbers for all of those?
Absolutely.
So that we can post that as well.
You betcha.
And then the other thing is, other than the three of us, a lot of people aren't going to know what those initials are.
Right.
So if you could explain what those other agencies are, that would be great.
Do you want me to do that now?
Yeah.
Sure. So JFCS is our agency, right? Jewish Family and Community Services. The JCC is the Jewish Community Center of Greater Pittsburgh. And the Jewish Association on Aging, which is the JAA, has home and community services as well as facilities. So the three agencies together form Age Well Pittsburgh. And as I mentioned before, it's a long-term collaboration. It always takes work. It takes effort, like any good relationship. But because of the collaboration, we have a much further reach than any of the three agencies would have together.
Do you have to be Jewish?
Nope, not for any of the services at any of the three. While there are some specific services, one other service that JFCS does offer is Holocaust services for Holocaust survivors through the Jewish Material Claims Against Germany, Inc. But the Conference of Jewish Material Claims Against Germany, Inc. is their full name. So that is the only one that has true eligibility criteria. Everything else, we're all non-denominational, non-sectarian. We come from the place of Jewish social services. All of our agencies are relatively older. And JFCS is over 80 years old. So it came from a time when every agency could only really serve their culture and their chosen population. Catholic Charities, Lutheran Services, they all came from the same family of faith-based services. But nowadays, we serve anyone who needs help.
I love that. That's great.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
It's a good question.
Well, you really answered our last question for you was volunteer opportunities. So it sounds like things are a little bit different, but you are still taking some volunteer opportunities virtually?
So we do have some virtual opportunities in the real world, right? In the before times and please God in the after times, as we like to refer to them, we do have opportunities through our Age Well Rides program, which is volunteer driving, our Age Well Visits program, which is friendly visiting. We also have opportunities through the Squirrel Hill Community Food Pantry, which is one of our programs. And we have a lot of older adults that normally volunteer through there, both with shopping and planning, and it's wonderful opportunities. And we really will get back to that one day.
Yeah.
Currently, our volunteer opportunities are on hold, but if people are interested in volunteering and looking for ways to do so, give us a call. The Age Well information line is 412-422-0400 and leave a message because we're checking that message machine constantly. And we have other opportunities. If not in JFCS, we'll find you others. We do have recommendations. And the opportunities we offer are all socially distanced. They're all masked and safe in different kind of ways. But in the end, it's a level of acceptable risk each volunteer has to decide for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have opportunities to provide, even if not in-house.
Right. Jeff, were you going to
Where's the food bank at?
Say again?
Where's the food bank at? The food bank?
Oh, the food bank. So the food bank in Duquesne are, they're over, well, so they're actually taking volunteers, but the Squirrel Hill Food Pantry currently is not.
Well, where's the Squirrel Hill Food Pantry at?
Oh, it's on the corner of Murray Avenue and Hazelwood.
Okay.
On that last corner. The
people who might not want to know that, to anybody can go there?
You have to call ahead first. You do have to call ahead, but to be served at the Squirrel Hill Food Pantry, you have to be in the 15217 area code or live anywhere in Allegheny County and keep kosher. It is the only kosher pantry that is available. So if you live anywhere in Allegheny County, that is your assigned pantry. But otherwise, you have to live in 15217.
Right.
And we have a lot more clients from that zip code than people might imagine.
I can imagine.
Well, thank you again so much for sharing this wonderful information and all of the resources and great work that you guys do. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add? Or Jeff, did you have any other questions that you wanted to ask Stefanie?
With Thanksgiving coming up, Stefanie, and I just even know with our own family, we're trying to debate because our kids, my grandchildren and my daughter live about 3 blocks away. And if the weather's good, we'll try to do Thanksgiving outside. And if the weather's not so good, we'll try to do Thanksgiving with Zoom. What kind, have you gotten like questions or issues that have come up that you've tried to give people advice on how to handle Thanksgiving?
We have, and part of that is, like you're saying, people are not sure what to do. It's Thanksgiving, it's Thanksgiving. How do we not have what we always have? So first we remind people, this year is not like any other year, right? So for those of us who are Jewish on here, right, it's the Manishtana that we say at Passover. Why is this night different than all other nights? Well, why is 2020 different from all other
2020
years?
has been all different.
Right? Manishtana. Why is this year different? And the truth is, we know why it's different. And so for people like, but we always do it this way, which in Pittsburgh is like the mantra and the motto of the city. It's always been done this way.
Right, well, that's why I'm on black and gold.
But in reality, we have to remember that this is a standalone year. By next Thanksgiving, we're not going to be having this discussion. Whether it's the vaccine or changes and mutations, whatever it might be, right? People have to realize that this is a standalone holiday that really is different from every other year. So even though we all want to follow tradition, sometimes traditions have to change. Now, in the Jewish community, we've already gone through 2 cycles of Jewish festivals. We went through Passover in March and April, and we went through Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Sukkot in September, October. So this is not even the Jewish community's first rodeo with a holiday separated. And in the Christian community, Easter was already different. So people have to remember they made it through those. We can make it through this one too. So yes, this one's in the winter. We're less likely to be outside, although I gotta tell you, Passover's weather this year was not exactly springtime. So we kind of already have that feeling. But we're also Pittsburghers, right? We're Pittsburghers. We're hardy people. We like to complain a bit, but in reality, this is a city of porch sitters. We like to sit on our porch and watch the world go by. So nothing, put a coat on, put lots of layers, put on a coat, get a better pair of boots, buy a fire pit, right? Only if you can actually manage fire safely. But all of the things that we're so afraid of, winter. Excuse me, Mr. Steelers jersey, right? Do people not go to Steelers games in the past? They sat their tuchuses in cold stands for 3+ hours to watch football. They can sit outside for Thanksgiving. And that's the truth of it.
And that's why I love her, because that's the way she is.
We tell
She's-
the truth as it is. We have to realize it's winter. It's winter in Pittsburgh. So
Suck
yes,
it
it will
up.
be gray, and yes, it will be chilly, and yes, it will be annoying, but does it ever stop us from going and doing the things we need to do? No.
I think we need a YouTube series with Stefanie. That's a good note to end on. I appreciate your
Maybe we could have her weekly do something on just Pittsburgh and what's going on. But,
Do a pep rally. Do a pep rally.
well, as they say, which is another Jewish expression, from your lips to God's ears.
Amen.
And I wish everybody that's here and who will see this and a very blessed and happy and safe Thanksgiving. And thank you again, Stefanie, for the wonderful things you do and the wonderful person you are.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.